Hi, I'm John from SurfFX. I'm with Bert Burger from Sunova, and we're having a look at the Speed, which is their snub nose, super straight outline, fast forward.
Yeah.
What's going on with this shape? Because it's very, very different shape.
Yeah, okay, there's a number of things going on with this one. We've got a slightly softer rocker that runs through the board, so it carries really well at low power. It's got a bit of a defined nose flip, carries a lot of area up front, very sort of parallel in the rails, and then we have this hip in the outline back here, and the channels will go back to those later. So what happens with all that area up front and that little bit of flip, as soon as you start paddling forward, it just climbs up on top of the water straight away. With all that nose area, all the water that's hitting the front of the board comes under it, as opposed to a narrower nose that tends to part the water. So you'll really notice straight away that as soon as you paddle, you're up, and as soon as you try and catch into a wave, it's just a few strokes and you're on it. So it catches waves really well. There's a light concave that runs through it to assist with getting it up on the rail. We also have a sort of a tucked under, but almost a noticeable edge. And so what happens is, as the water's running down the board, when it hits that hard edge, it wants to kind of release. Whereas if you have a round rail, it'll wrap onto the deck. If you have it super hard, you get more release. So with this sort of tucked under hard edge, it has this sort of skatey, fast feel, sits on top of the water and goes. This parallel section through the middle means that when you get a long wall, you can really just lock it in and fire down the line. And also, if you come out around a section, you can hold a good bottom turn and really make sections. And so it's a very fast board because of that. Then back here, we come into a very pronounced hip, where the leading channel finishes off on this, basically that's what it is, a hip. So as your weight transitions onto the back foot, there's a definite point where you feel the board just kick into the turn. So once you step onto the tail of this board, it just frees right up. And then the channels also allow water out. So as you get it on the rail and you're hooking through the turn, those channels literally will feed the water out and just allow it to come around even quicker again. So with a combination of the hip and the channels, it makes it really sensitive off the back foot. And then the channels themselves too, if you're just sort of heading straight down the line, with the turbulence that's going on through the channel itself, it just slightly reduces the amount of surface area and water that's in contact with the board, because the board is insanely fast, like faster than I ever expected it would be. So I think there's definitely something going on with the vortices and the turbulent water in this channel when you're heading straight down the line.
I mean, most of the guys who've been getting this board are just loving it, and they're buying another one in a different size.
Yeah.
And they're just coming back and saying it's super fast, and you get back on the tail, it's got a real deep, like driving bottom turn to it, almost like a pintail mouth style turn. Now the size range on these, it goes from super small, the real tiny ones, right up to well into the 9 foot.
Yeah, I think 7.4 is the smallest one, and I really should know this. I think 9.5 is currently the biggest one. Yeah, and I think the 9.5's at 160, and the 7.4 is at around about 73 or 74 litres. So that's the litre range and the size range.
Now we're getting quite a bit of stability. Guys are finding that they can go a little smaller, obviously because the nose is cut like that, but they're finding them stable because they've got that. It's real square through outline, so you get a wider nose to help resist the roll.
There's two things that give this board good stability. One is that it's all this width in the nose, so that, and because it's quite parallel until sort of back here, if you lean it a little bit, that whole rail line submerges and will want to pop you back up. Whereas if you've got a very curvy outline, you've only got a small amount of the middle of the board that when you submerge, it can assist you back up. And the second thing is, it has a nice low rail. It's got a bit of dome in the deck, and that brings the rail nice and low. So again, what that does is it puts this part of the rail line below the water. So for the board to be tippy and respond, it has to lift the water up with it. Sometimes when you have really big fat rails, you can sink one rail a bit, but then when you're trying to readjust, it ends up popping back out on you violently. So a fatter rail can cork around a lot more, Whereas this one with the rail submerged doesn't have that corky, tippy feeling.
Yeah, I've paddled this in a few sizes and I found it just way more stable than the size suggests, which is
Yes.
nice and easy because it makes paddling more fun.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming, Bert, and I
That's
ran out
it,
of things to say.